Okay, good evening. I'm going to call the February 22nd, 2022 finance meeting to order. Do I hear a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda. First item on the agenda is approval of January 25th, 2022 meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, additions, deletions?
No.
All in favor of accepting the January 25th meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous as well. The first item on our under ordinance and resolutions is Resolution 2022-08, a resolution of the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee, approving an economic impact plan for the Chute Lane development area. Do I hear a motion?
I so moved. Second.
Okay, discussion. And I'm going to call on Mayor Clary. He's the sponsor of this resolution, just to kind of give us an overview.
I appreciate that. We are not providing incentives. We are not giving up any taxes that we currently generate from that property. We are providing future taxes, also known as the increment, to provide the infrastructure for that property. It's in other property that's inside the TIF district. Part of the property in the TIF district is inside Hendersonville, part of it's inside Gallatin, part of it's inside Nita, which is county property. And these gentlemen are going to tell you more about that and answer all your questions. One thing that they may neglect to tell you, because it's not necessarily related to finance, is that part of this project, is that they're going to donate 3 acres of land to Jack Anderson Elementary. Currently, those 3 acres of land could be used to build probably 6 to 9 houses. The fact that we wouldn't have those houses is a tremendous help to the city. The fact that Jack Anderson Elementary will get the property is an even greater help to the city. And I hope you all don't forget to talk about that when you do talk about this project. I think it's a very good selling point. So I'm going to turn it over to them if you all don't have any other questions for me. If you do, I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted you to emphasize too that the future taxes will not in any way, if we don't do this, there won't
Don't
be
get the
any
future taxes. Yeah,
incremental future
Yep.
taxes.
Yep. very
Thank
good
you.
point. Very good.
Thank
point.
you,
Okay.
Mayor. And
Sure,
introduce
sure.
yourselves, please.
Yes.
We're live streaming, so
I don't
have a
like
seat at the
him
table.
often anyway.
Good evening. I'm Rich Riebling with R Squared, it's a company in Nashville. My partner,
Russell
Russell
Riebling.
Riebling, and the developer Kevin Kane with Stratus, who's developing the project. And so we could do an hour presentation or simply answer any questions that you may have. But we appreciate your consideration of this. We've been working with Kevin now for a couple of years to make this a reality, and we're going through the process. Both cities, Gallatin and Hendersonville, and the county have to approve the same resolution, which basically authorizes the increment. We've been through Gallatin, we've been through the initial reading in the county, and now we're here at the city. And next Monday we're scheduled to go before the county commission. So all of this would be completed by the end of February. And then we would go back to the industrial board to get the actual financing plan approved by the board, who would be the ultimate issuer of the bonds and the debt. As you know, Kevin's been working on the development, and principal part of this TIF tax increment is to go for the hockey facility, which would be 2 sheets of ice. We have an agreement with the Nashville Predators to manage that facility. So they're going to pay a lease payment to help cover the cost of the project. And in addition, part of their agreement is they agree to take on all the operational risk of the project. So it doesn't become an operational burden on either the cities or the counties or anybody. It's the Predators take on that as part of their responsibility. And so we think it's really a win for this whole community, the county and both cities collectively. The Predators have a great brand image. They if you've been to the 2 facilities in Nashville, they are filled with hockey players, ice skaters, and teams traveling from all over country really, and Canada to play and to play in tournaments. And so we think this will, we know this will also generate, revenues for restaurants, hotels, and beyond, not beyond just the goat farm development, but to, the Indian Lake and throughout the region. So we think it's a really a good win for the communities, and really here to help answer any questions you may have, and hope you see favorably upon this.
Well, I have a question. How long are we bound by this for the tax incremental financing? Is there a sun?
There is.
Sun-
It's 30 years.
Down
30,
date.
yeah, 30 years. It's 30 years.
I
Okay.
But
saw
I-
possibly
It will likely be
20.
less.
Yeah, that's
It's,
what I
but
saw.
we're going to structure it for maximum of 30, but we would hope that it's get
To have
paid
it
off.
paid back
Okay.
by
Payback.
20.
Yeah,
Right.
in 20 or less. The experience with the sort of the only other major TIF that's been done in this community similar to this, structured similar to this, was paid off several years in advance of where it was supposed to be off, like
14.
yeah, it was supposed to be 20 or 25, it was paid off for 14. And so, depending on, how fast the development occurs and what tax rates are and all, there's a lot of things we can't predict
Mhm.
today. This is a unique structure in that instead of going to like the capital markets to finance this, a local citizen, Randy Smith, is stepping up to provide the funding for this. And so the way this would work is that the project will be, the hockey facility infrastructure, which part of the money goes for the infrastructure, will be, and it'll exceed the amount that's in the TIF. So the infrastructure and hockey facility will actually cost the developers more than just what the TIF amount is. And that will all be financed by Randy or some entity of Randy, and then he in essence would get paid back from the TIF revenues as they come down. So it saves the city or county, anybody from having to go to the bond market, pay cost of issuance and all that. So it's pretty dramatic that someone would step up and be in a position to do this.
Really?
And he really, he's a hockey fan. I don't know if you knew that, but he has been a long time attendee at the Predators games and is really committed to doing this for the community, to give back to the community. So, we think it'd be a great thing.
So who is managing the actual money? I mean, we had, who is the fiduciary? Is there a bank involved?
So
or-
again, a little different from the structure is that the developers are going to incur all the cost and be paid, and then basically submit an invoice to the county IDB and says, we spent $45 million, and with all the justification, open book, completely, any documents, contracts, all that to be available so that the county will be able to see. And so prior to the TIF repayment commencing, you'll have, the facility will be built, the infrastructure will be in, you'll know what the cost is. And only then does the TIF money start getting paid back to Randy. So there'll be a complete accountability of all that. And the beauty of this is that, the kind of, if for some reason they never built the facility, not going to happen. Nobody's ever responsible.
Right,
It
right.
just went away.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I just wanted
Yeah.
to basically know who was managing the process,
Sure.
because as a fiduciary,
Understand.
there's good oversight. And is it the IDB that's
It is.
controlling it?
Yeah, all the
The
contracts will be
IDB,
with the IDB.
Hendersonville
The
and
county.
Gallatin?
Well, it's just the county
The
IDB.
county.
The
Okay.
county IDB will be the issuer. Basically, they'll issue a note to Randy and then and secured by the TIF payments. But we can, in the final agreement, when we go back to the industrial board hopefully in March, maybe in April, depending on how long it takes to get everything done. In there will be, the transparency that everybody wants, so that everyone is given assurance that, if they say they spent $40 million, you're going to know where the money went.
You have received.
You'll have receipt and
So
you'll,
Bradley can
Right.
review it and anybody.
We
that's
spoke
seen it.
Wonderful.
about,
Wonderful.
I wanted to make sure we didn't get into a situation like we did with the last time.
Mhm.
Right.
That's why I'm asking the
Where-
questions.
yeah, it's
There
great.
were accusations, so it's not going to be a part of our resolution because we actually don't have the authority over it. It's the IDB.
Right.
But I appreciate that you've agreed that the IDB that the TIF fund will send us quarterly transaction reports for Jesse and Robert to review. And that the contracts would be available for our city attorney to review. And I think
And the
that,
tax
and
returns.
we're going to make sure we're very transparent about what the developer fees are when those are known. And I'm hopeful that that will help. We're all going to be held accountable.
Right.
So to build in a little bit more,
Some additional controls.
Yeah.
well,
Yes.
it's not even controls, but like, let's keep our mind on
Yeah.
it. So that nobody gets asked a question is like, I haven't seen that since we did
Yeah,
it 14
transparency.
years
It's
ago.
all of that, yeah.
This happened
Quarterly,
5 years ago.
we're looking at it and are aware of
And I
where
think-
we are.
I mean, I won't speak for Kevin. I mean, he's in this community and he lives here. And so he wants to make sure his name doesn't get sullied in the process. And Randy
And
Smith the
Randy
same way.
Has a
And so
really
you're dealing with people who live here and want to make sure that they're accountable and so that their long-term
And
reputation.
the press as well too. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something they don't.
And we
want.
welcome this.
Yes.
I mean, we're just trying to be a little bit cautious.
Understandably,
Hopefully
right?
by
It's not,
being
it's
really
only fair.
upfront in the beginning,
Yeah.
we can remove a lot of the
Right.
suspicions that people may have.
We can't guarantee that there will be no
You can't.
suspicions, but we can only promise that we will give as much
Transparency,
transparency as
Transparency.
possible. Yeah, that's right.
I want to thank you for sending me that rendering for
You're welcome.
Shoot Lane.
Yeah.
That's even
Good.
better than what I
It's even
thought.
better than what you thought. All right.
Yeah.
Kevin, there you go.
And I thought I knew this, but I don't, based on what Jamie just said. 3 acres you're donating to Jack Anderson.
Yes, correct.
Where is that? Is it behind this?
Yeah, so
see
if,
it.
if you're kind of
Yeah,
looking at
so
the
that's-
front of Jack Anderson, you'll have to visualize this a little
Uh,
bit. On the left-hand side,
It must be.
we own adjacent property. And so we're kind of donating the north portion of that property that abuts the parking lot. It's kind of the,
And kind of
Rear.
Abbeville access road and that.
yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
tucked back up in there
Yeah,
where
I
it
gotcha.
abuts kind of right between River Chase and the school. There's a
Gotcha.
portion of land there.
And
So
is that where, is there a different area where you would put a playground?
I don't know
Talk
what,
to me about a
they're-
playground
We had
for
talked
River Chase.
we had talked to Jamie about that somewhere in the Hendersonville site, that there'll be some public facility of some kind. Hadn't been determined yet because we're not sure what they're going to do in
Kind of
Hendersonville yet.
public.
The zoning's completed for Gallatin and the county,
correct.
but the land that's in Hendersonville has not been approved for any zoning yet. And so they're gonna have to come back, once they kind of figure out what it is they want to put there, they're gonna have to come back in, and when they come back in for that rezoning, that's when they'll be able to show where they might put a playground or something that'll be of community access, is what they're talking about.
This is a big dot deal for this area.
It really is. We got a lot going on in the city right now. It's just one of the,
Karen, did you
Projects.
have anything?
yeah, I do. You said that this has already been through the Board of Mayor and Alderman in Gallatin. How did that go? Was it a
And
Yeah.
unanimous? And they didn't have any amendments that was voted
No,
on with
no.
this at all? That's all I need to know.
so as of now, I mean, assuming, this, your board votes in favor tonight, that both cities have adopted the same resolution, the only change being the name, Hendersonville and
Right.
Gallatin, and the county is identical, with, again, just the county name instead of the two cities' name. And then that's sort of, the steps are, the industrial board has a public hearing, approves the plan, sends it to the governments approve it or disapprove it, whatever they're gonna do, and then it goes back to the industrial board for the final documents and the legal work and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what would be the next step after the county acts.
Great.
Does anybody else, Robert, do you have any?
No,
anyone
it's
add Comments?
not- it's fairly straightforward.
Okay.
Not the first one I've seen, and
Yeah.
God willing, won't be the last.
Jesse, is there anything that Andy? Okay, I guess we're ready to vote. Anybody else? Okay. All right, all in favor of approving resolution 2022-08, say aye.
I,
That has been recommended unanimously. The next item on the agenda is resolution 2022-09.
We'll be here tonight.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
It's the only one.
Thank
We'll
you.
be here.
so this goes to Boma tonight too.
I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
It was on the agenda.
I probably skipped over it since I looked at finance.
Okay, Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2022-09, a resolution supporting the restoration of the historical state shared sales tax relationship and the increased single article cap revenue sharing relationship between the state of Tennessee and local governments. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Second, and what glared out on me is that we're going to be if we pass this resolution, we're going to increase our sales tax by about almost $1 million a year.
Oh, no. This is just something to help lobby for it to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not going to be
No,
I
I'm
think
not
it's just a
actively- I
possibility,
misspoke.
right?
requesting that it
That
occur, but yeah,
We're encouraging this to happen.
it's,
Sorry, I misspoke.
I'm happy to answer any questions on it. I know Jess has been very involved too, and essentially what this is doing, I think you all have been sent the video, I assume. I'm not sure if it's been played. Yeah, yeah. But ultimately, we've talked about the cap for local sales tax up to $1,600, but there is another cap for the state shared taxes, which is at 7%. So two things are happening. The first would be to equal those at 3,200, and local sales tax would get a portion of that, not just cut off at 1,600, but would go on to be at 3,200 where the state is, and also a portion of that from 16 to 3,200 has not been historically given. I think actually, excuse me, from 6% to 7% has not been historically distributed out to cities as well. So, or counties for that matter. So it would be restoring that relationship and making the calculation the same all throughout the 7%, and the local sales tax would be equal. There wouldn't be a cutoff difference.
So right now, is that remaining? Is that excess remaining in the state's coffers?
That's right.
Well,
That's what they look. That's the way it looked to me. But
you're talking about between the 6 and 7%
Yes,
difference.
yes.
Yes, there's a defined, there is not a defined purpose for it, so it goes into the state's general fund, as far as I can tell. And it could get distributed back out, but it wouldn't be. Thank you, appreciate it. Sorry, getting a little distracted for a second,
Yeah.
but yes, as far as I can tell, that revenue collected from 6 to 7% goes into the state's general fund and has no defined purpose.
So are we going to be getting any pushback from the state legislature or the governor?
I would imagine
I mean, I
so,
would
but
think, because we're not the only city that would.
I would say,
Intex is heading this,
yeah,
so the pushback will
Be on them.
be on, I mean,
Yeah.
we're just saying Intex
Right,
is right,
right.
and we're supporting that, and we'll
Yeah.
accept the money.
I don't
Right.
know that it's ever been proposed to increase, because it's only been the last 20.
So they're lobbying
years.
for this.
Yeah.
And we're encouraging them to do so.
Correct. We're
That
showing
in a
our
nutshell.
support.
Because they used to pay at this rate, and they got in a budget crisis and said, oh, we're gonna take some of the money from the
Mhm.
cities.
I think it was the
And we're
reverse.
saying, okay, you're not in a crisis, give it back.
Right. I think during the crisis, they increased an amount, and that
They
didn't
changed it
increase the.
back. That's right, that's what it is.
Right, and the
yeah.
increased amount didn't continue the relationship beyond
Mhm.
6%. But to your point, I don't think anyone's ever put this before them. Maybe the conversation's been had, but nothing formal has been requested. And in my opinion, the city's done very well. The state's done very well fiscally,
Huge surplus.
setting
That's right.
back funds every year
Mhm.
for rainy day, to the tune of about $1 billion over several years.
Mhm.
Great.
And when you have that much of an excess, I mean, it's obvious that this percent, I mean, I can't say exactly how much it contributed, but this percent certainly helped that. And I wouldn't see any reason why. I think it's logical to share that relationship.
Right. Any other discussion? Mayor, did you want to talk to that at all?
Sounds like you're going the direction I want you to, so I will
Yeah.
shut up
We're
now.
just
Yep.
thrilled,
Okay.
Yeah,
thrilled to pieces that maybe this might happen.
Yeah.
$953,000, I think, is what.
Yeah, almost
Yeah,
$1 million
yeah.
bucks. Mhm.
be.
All right, Jesse, did you want to have a comment about that? I thought you were. Yeah, wanting to comment on that. You were smiling.
She sounds like a school teacher now, doesn't she?
Karen, did you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Rachel? Okay. All in favor of resolution 2022-09, say aye.
I,
Aye, that was, yes, that was recommended unanimously. Under other agenda items, we have several different reports, and they all look really good. So Robert, I'm gonna have you share the reports with us.
First is sales tax, local sales tax, excuse me. We are at 10,874,000 collected for the year. That is through 7 months of activity. As always, January is our highest revenue collection, coming in from December Christmas activity and sales there. Highest ever collected this
Yeah.
month, 1.9 million, just over that.
Almost $2 million.
Correct. That's an increase of 116,000 over last year. And year over year, a little over $1.3 million through 7 months.
That's phenomenal.
The projection right now is 15%, 16.5% over our budgeted numbers, which were anticipated an increase of around 9%. So you can kind of do the math there at somewhere around 25% difference.
That's wonderful. Any questions on that?
great news, more great news.
Mhm.
Hooray.
Absolutely.
Occupancy hotel motel.
Hotel motels next. Hotel motel, I no longer need to say that we stabilized that from the COVID or impacted revenues there, but obviously this year collecting back closer to what we would have been had COVID not hit. This year, highest that we've seen for December at 23,600. January has begun coming in yesterday and today, so we don't quite have that fully. I've gotten 2 of them, but I think the rest came in today and tomorrow. I expect them to at least. And we should, since this is a short month, we won't quite know the full figure until probably first week of March. But that being said, January is trending higher, trending closer to around breaking 20,000 at least right now. If all other hotels are the same sort of
And
increase
stars
as to what we
align.
have. Correct. If the all stars align, that's the phrase I was looking for, actually.
Stormwater drainage fund.
Stormwater drainage. The first sheet of that is a little shorter. That's kind of an overview of revenue and expenditure, projected ending balance as it stands right now. But if you would like to see the detail of each, what those revenues are, where we've spent it, that'll come on page 28. And obviously, like each year, the majority of expenditures are coming out of drainage projects, which is pretty typical. We tend to that's the reason for the fund, and we've spent around $563,000 on projects through the end of January.
That's a little light, isn't it?
Why aren't we
Robert?
spending this money? Yeah.
I wouldn't say
mean,
that.
I had to complain about that.
I wouldn't say it's light. I think winter times can put a little slow, can slow operations a little bit, but I know we've seen a lot come in and get paid through February. So I think that'll jump and begin to jump between now and the end of the fiscal year.
So I want to spend it.
We also,
Jesse, did you want to say anything about that? You look like you want to say something about that.
Well, Public Works had to shift a bit of attention to the
Yeah.
tornado debris cleanup.
Right.
too.
True.
But don't we
Right.
use contractors for this?
We did.
But somebody has to manage the
y-
contractor.
Sure, and we had our own staff in too, so that, we had debris in the storm channel.
Mhm.
So absolutely that we were doing storm, channel work with doing the debris cleanup, but we had, a solid month where our guys were really focused on doing that.
Yeah.
I thought
And-
maybe it was because we were supplementing that with COVID funds too.
Well, so with the tornado debris cleanup, we're submitting to FEMA for reimbursement. But we still initially, put the time and had to pay both contractors and our own staff to be out there. And the tornado debris cleanup is complete. But it took, over a month to get
Sure.
a tornado debris contractor to come in. So until then, we had some locals who helped us. And then we had those really big trucks that you saw driving around on the peninsulas who were really able to take a big bite of that work out. But
Yeah.
a lot of our staff time was down there doing the tornado.
Yeah.
And another, it's a large number of factors, but one of them, we collect the majority of our stormwater revenue in December. And so sometimes,
I see.
I know we have a bit of a bank that can help
Yes,
fund
yes.
projects from the get-go, but we also get the majority of what we've budgeted on December and
So-
February months.
So this number is big because it just showed up.
Right.
Okay, that makes more sense
Right.
than,
Yeah, well, I don't
It's
want
starting out
us
in
I don't want us to
July.
have
Yeah.
such a big surplus at the end
Sure.
of the year. like we did
Sure.
as long as
Several
we
years ago.
get it spent, because
Not
we
spent.
know we have a lot of issues that throughout the city that we can spend this.
I think it'll smooth out, as they say in finance, but it'll definitely level out over the next couple of months because we also have other capital projects that are open right now that will spend that money as they progress too.
Okay. Anything else committee on the storm? Okay. We're at the American Rescue Plan Act, the lost revenue reimbursement. Did you want to speak to that, Jesse?
Yeah, sure.
Quickly? Not quickly, but give us an overview.
Yeah, so Robert and I met with our consultants. We had originally outlined a plan and they wrote us a memo back saying that the plan that we had asked them to review appeared in line with everything that the final rule put out. And basically what we had come up with was a way to administratively reduce the burden on the city and keep local control of the dollars in BOMA's purview rather than the federal government. And the way that the final rule allows you to do that is to take a revenue loss. They allow every city to take a $10 million revenue loss, just standard. So a big city like Nashville is going to get hundreds of millions of dollars. That's a small portion. But for us, it's more than what we were even allocated. So we're able to take the whole amount that we received, put it in a revenue loss category. And the way that we can administratively, with the least amount of burden, administer that is to take payroll, because you're allowed to use general government services with those dollars. So we can take payroll. So Robert pulled up payroll from April through October, and we're well over the full amount of funds that we've received through ARPA. So we're compiling that information to send to our consultant so he can wrap it up, and we're going to send it to the state for their review. But I think at this point, it's just a formality of us doing that. It appears that, we're a go on all levels, but we still want to take it through the state's review. So we're working on putting that package together right now, but it looks good. So basically what will happen is it's like the city pulled out a couple $1 million of expenses. And so the general fund will end up with a higher surplus at the end of the
So
year.
this money is going to go in the general fund.
Yeah, so, it will pay, essentially, it will pay what the general fund was going to pay.
Right.
So then there will be
Salaries.
leftover money at the end of the year
Yeah.
because there was, general fund money that was never spent.
So my real question is, so we're never going to vote really on how to spend this money except for in the mayor's budget. It'll just become part of the mayor's budget
I think we will still bring it to the board to
as a
go.
separate.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, and to say, hey,
Okay.
this is what we've received from the state, this is the guidance we've gotten, and then I think that would take a vote. But the benefit of doing that is once the year's settled, whatever those excess dollars, whatever BOMA wants to do with those excess dollars is up to BOMA. It doesn't have to follow some type of federal guideline that may or may not be in the best interest of the city. So it puts the control of the funds entirely in BOMA's hands. Looking at it from that perspective, if you take it under a revenue loss.
cost.
I like keeping it clean. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I think that's really good. Now, we've pulled one payment, right?
We did the first payment of almost $300,000 for premium pay for public
Yes.
safety for police and
Yes.
fire, and
Okay.
we've already done that. And so this would be the remainder of the first allocation that we've got, which was 2.59 million, I think.
2.59,
we got.
okay.
So
it'd
it'd
be
be
that.
229.
When we're gonna get the second
We
allocation.
were supposed to get it within a year of the first,
Yeah,
but
that's
we
what
got the
I'm saying.
first one like 4 months later, a couple months later, so we'll see.
But they've still got about 6
Whenever they
months
get around
to meet
to
that
it.
deadline, but
Yeah, so,
fingers crossed.
yeah, I would think in less than a year we'd get it, but right now Robert's pulling up enough payroll that we, with this one payroll record that we're gonna pull, it will cover both the first apportionment and the second apportionment that we get. So we don't have to go back and do another calculation. We're gonna pull all the expenses. We're gonna submit the whole package to the comptroller at one time. So when we get that second apportionment, we already have the expenses outlined that we can use those funds against.
Have any idea how long that review will take?
Now, it's the first time we've ever submitted it to them. I think with the final rule, probably most every city our size, and this is what our consultant said, is that everyone's taking the revenue loss.
We have water running out of the wall meter.
Oh, great.
We have,
Water running down
So
the
we have
wall in
some
the meeting room.
stormwater issues.
We have-
As I was mentioning
No, it's
earlier.
just, that's our aesthetics.
It's-
Running water
it's-
calms everyone.
Very feng shui.
Exactly.
Apparently, we have a roof
okay,
leak.
well, thank you, Jesse, for
Thank you,
that
Jesse.
update.
Thank
Did
you
he come and
both
tell you
for
because he wants you to
all
grab
you do.
cows?
Thank you.
I'm kidding.
Robert, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think he's.
Karen, did you have anything else?
No, I just
nail
wanted
on
to
the
thank them for managing this and
Yeah.
coming up with a great solution to not have to
Good.
put us through a lot of red tape.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
If you would excuse me.
Yes, go get your mop.
I believe we're at the end of our agenda, ladies.
Inline hockey.
We've just
Oh, wait a minute.
got a couple
Sorry.
its to
I'm
to
sorry.
discuss. I don't have,
know what that
The
is.
inline hockey update.
I don't have a report for you this evening. As we're switching to a new system, I haven't been able to update our tracking spreadsheet, but I believe we're somewhere around 92 to 94% completed as far as expenditures go, and I will let Director Gilly speak to anything more than that.
We are working, we have started the local leagues playing out there. We have 2 tournaments in March scheduled,
The what? What'd you say?
local leagues.
Okay.
We're still working through some punch list items with the contractor. Namely, a piece of the roof they have to fix.
Oh.
Yeah. So there are some issues that we're on top of at this point.
So like a punch list.
I do expect it to come in under budget or at budget.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Always like to hear that.
Oh, I'm not committing to that. Until it's-
Well, you
until
said
it's
it.
done. We're on track.
Okay.
It's a miracle in this environment.
Minor.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item is the diabetes grant.
I'll
letter
give one of these
intent.
to you all. If you'd like to pass
I
that
didn't
down.
have information on that, I'm sorry. Thank you.
This is just for information purposes at this point. This is a new grant that came out 3 or 4 weeks ago from the state. Our task right now is to send a letter of intent to apply. If you'll look on page, the next to the last page, there's 2 goals that you can try to reach. Performance goal 2 talks about, performance goal 1 has to do with distributing food in the community. Our city doesn't do that. Other organizations do, we don't. Performance goal 2 has to do with creating active lifestyles. It's a $450,000 grant, but you get payments in $150,000 increments once per year for 3 years. You must spend the $150,000 in that year. So we basically have had to come up with 3 separate projects for over 3 years. The first year, we're gonna put in the letter of intent for pickleball courts, which I think you all will, if you've been watching Public Works Committee meetings, that's become a hot topic. I think you'll see that proposed probably in the mayor's budget of some type. We're about to come back to the board with recommendations of location. That was at the capital projects committee. I think it's the last time we discussed
Yeah.
pickleball. The second year was creating, finishing out a greenway at Volunteer Park for people to walk on. The third year, outdoor fitness equipment along our current greenways in the city. So all those things hit these strategies underneath performance goal 2. Also, a key part of that is you had to have community engagement, which we accomplished during the Parks Master Plan. So those 3 things are things that we don't have that could be goals to achieve with this grant. Once we submit a letter of intent, then they decide who gets to actually apply. If we get to the apply round, that is when I will come back to you all to actually vote on something. Because it could involve, if we apply for a grant for pickleball, it's 150,000, knowing that that project is going to cost us more than that total. I want you all to approve that.
Right.
So right now, there's nothing really for you to vote on. We're just letting you know that we're going to submit a letter of intent. If we get the full application status, we will come back here in Public Works and Bowman.
And so what is the potential grant money available?
450,000,
450, okay,
yes,
for all 3 projects combined.
combined, 150,000 a year for 3 years.
3 years.
And it can't carry over. That's another kind of oddity of this one.
I'll tell you, a couple of, more than several of my customers at the bank play
Oh,
pickleball.
It
yeah.
is a
And
growing
they're
sport.
not
Right.
real young
Sport.
Yep.
people. They're, well-established.
Veteran
It's not as hard on your
Veteran
knees like
type.
tennis.
Like
so
me.
Older people can play it.
experience.
And
Yeah.
they are very excited about that. So, okay. Does anybody have anything else? I have an other. Robert, do you have an other?
No, we'll leave that on there in case there's a
Okay.
discussion item that needs discussing.
Did you want to bring anything up? Committee?
Yeah.
Me?
I moved to close.
Do I hear a motion to
I
adjourn?
moved to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good meeting.
We were kind of in the back.
Yeah.
Well,
Barely.
Not the first time.
Cannot handle those drinks and that. I'm gonna come in here with a trash.